The gleaming halls of the U.S. Horizons command deck had never felt more confining to Commander Kira Patel. She stood at the viewport, watching the massive Galactic Council station rotate slowly against the backdrop of distant stars, its crystalline spires catching the light of the nearby sun. The station was beautiful, she had to admit, and that somehow made it all the more infuriating. "Commander," Lieutenant James Rodriguez called from his station, "the Council representatives are requesting permission to board." Again. He emphasized the last word with barely concealed frustration. Kira took a deep breath, smoothing down her pristine uniform. "Tell them we're still conducting standard decontamination protocols." She turned to face her bridge crew, all of whom wore expressions ranging from amusement to barely suppressed anger. That should buy us another hour to prepare for their particular brand of diplomacy. The truth was, humanity had been fighting an uphill battle since their first contact with the Galactic Council 50 years ago. Earth had expected either war or equal diplomatic relations. Instead, they got something far worse: patronizing protection. "Did you see their latest classification of us?" Commander Raj Sharma, her second in command, handed her a datapad. "They've upgraded us from promising juvenile species to advancing adolescent civilization. I suppose we should feel honored." His voice dripped with sarcasm. Kira skimmed the document, her jaw tightening. The Council's latest assessment of humanity read like a teacher's progress report for a particularly slow student. They praised Earth's admirable attempts at sustainable fusion power, ignoring the fact that humanity had mastered it decades ago. They commended their brave first steps into genetic engineering, unaware that human scientists had already cured most genetic diseases. "The worst part," Kira said, placing the pad down with deliberate care, "is that they genuinely think they're helping us. They're protective restrictions on our expansion. For our own good. The technology they won't share. We're not ready for it. The limited trading rights. We need to be sheltered from the harsh realities of galactic economics." The bridge fell silent as the main screen lit up with an incoming transmission. The elegant features of High Counselor Zerix filled the display, his crystalline skin refracting light in what humans had learned was an expression of benevolent concern. "My dear Commander Patel," his translator rendered his musical language into English, "we're growing quite concerned about these delays. Are your environmental systems perhaps malfunctioning? We would be happy to send our technical assistance team." "That won't be necessary, High Counselor," Kira interrupted, maintaining a diplomatic smile. "Our systems are functioning perfectly. We're simply being thorough, as this is our first visit from such distinguished guests." The truth, hidden behind layers of classified protocols, was far different. Deep within the Horizon's supposedly primitive hull, quantum computers were running complex analyses of every Council transmission, every energy signature, every scrap of data they could gather. Humanity had learned long ago that the best way to advance was to let their protectors think they were still stumbling in the dark. Lieutenant Rodriguez's console beeped urgently. He checked the reading twice before speaking. "Commander, we're picking up unusual activity in the Proxima Centauri colony sector. Multiple ships just dropped out of FTL. Signatures matched known pirate vessels." Kira's expression hardened. The pirates were another example of the Council's protection. They claimed human space was too dangerous for Earth to patrol alone, yet their response times to emergencies were maddeningly slow. "High Counselor," she addressed the screen, "I regret to inform you that we'll have to postpone our meeting. We've detected a situation that requires our immediate attention." "Oh, my dear," Zyrix's crystal facets sparkled with what humans had learned to recognize as condescension. "You needn't worry about such matters. The Council's response fleet will handle any disturbances. Your vessels aren't equipped for such confrontations." Kira shared a knowing look with her crew. "Nevertheless, we have a responsibility to investigate. Horizon out." She cut the transmission before the Counselor could object. "Battle stations," she ordered, her voice carrying the weight of years of preparation. "Contact Admiral Hassan. Tell him it's time for Operation Wake Up Call." As klaxons sounded throughout the ship, Kira allowed herself a small smile. The Council was about to learn that their adolescent civilization had done more than just homework during their years of supervision. They had prepared, adapted, and evolved, not despite the Council's restrictions, but because of them. The Horizon's engines flared to life, its supposedly primitive hull shimming as advanced stealth systems activated. Deep within the ship, weapon systems the Council couldn't even imagine powered up, and quantum-encrypted messages raced across human space, alerting other primitive vessels to their true purpose. "Time to show them what the kids can do," Kira murmured, taking her command chair. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had outgrown its cradle, and they had no intention of asking permission to walk among the stars as equals. The U.S. Horizon dropped out of FTL on the edge of the Proxima Centauri system, its hull gleaming against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. The pirates had struck 3 mining outposts already, their supposedly superior weapons making short work of the primitive human defenses. At least, that's what their sensors told them. "Status report," Commander Paddle demanded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. 5 pirate vessels, Trilaxian make, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. "They're using Class 4 gravitational disruptors. Weapons we're not supposed to be able to counter." A slight smile played across his face. "They haven't noticed us yet. Our quantum camouflage is holding." "Incoming transmission from the Council fleet," Commander Sharma announced. "They're still 6 hours out and advising us to retreat and wait for their assistance." Kira allowed herself a small chuckle. "Send them our appreciation for their concern. Then activate the Prometheus protocol." Throughout the ship, hidden panels slid away, revealing technology that would make the Council's senior engineers weep. The Horizon's primitive hull rippled as nanomaterials reconfigured themselves into their true form. Quantum weapon arrays, developed in secret underground facilities on Earth, hummed to life. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Hannah Park called from her engineering station. "Admiral Hassan reports that Task Force Shadow is in position. All ships have dropped their camouflage protocols and are combat ready." On the tactical display, dozens of human ships suddenly appeared, surrounding the pirate fleet. Ships that, according to official records, were nothing more than basic patrol vessels with minimal armament. The reality was something else entirely. "Open a channel to the pirate fleet," Kira ordered. "Let's see how they react to meeting the real humanity." The main screen flickered to life, showing the scared face of the pirate leader, a Trilaxian with metallic scales and cybernetic enhancements. His expression shifted from annoyance to confusion as he took in the bridge of the Horizon. "This is Commander Kira Paddle of the Earth Defense Force. You have exactly 1 minute to power down your weapons and prepare for boarding." Her voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. The Trilaxian laughed, his translator rendering it as a series of metallic clicks. "Human vessel, your species is not authorized to carry military-grade weapons. Return to your territory before we—" 50 seconds, Kira interrupted. "And for the record, we stopped asking for authorization a long time ago." She nodded to Rodriguez, who activated the first phase of their attack. Quantum fields rippled across space, completely neutralizing the pirates' gravitational disruptors. The Trilaxian's expression shifted from amusement to shock as his weapons' readouts went dark. What is this?" he demanded. "These technologies are beyond your level." 30 seconds, Kira continued calmly. "And you might want to check your engine readings. Those quantum fields don't just disable weapons." The pirate crew frantically worked their controls as their ship's engines began to sputter. The quantum fields weren't just neutralizing their weapons, they were systematically shutting down every system that violated Council restrictions on human space. "This is impossible," the pirate leader snarled. "The Council assured us humans were defenseless without their protection." 10 seconds, Kira replied. "And that was their first mistake, believing their own propaganda about us." In the background, Admiral Hassan's task force moved into attack positions. Each ship revealed its true nature advanced weapon systems emerging from hidden compartments. Years of careful preparation, of letting the galaxy think humanity was barely able to achieve stable spaceflight, were paying off. "Time's up," Kira announced. "Lieutenant Park, show them what else we've been hiding." The Horizon's quantum arrays fired, not with destructive force, but with precisely calibrated containment fields. The pirate ships found themselves trapped in a web of intersecting quantum barriers, technology that, according to Council records, wouldn't be developed for another 1,000 years. "Commander," Rodriguez reported with barely contained glee, "the Council representatives are demanding to know what's happening. Their sensors just picked up our upgrades." "Put them through," Kira ordered, straightening in her chair. "It's time for an overdue conversation about humanity's place in the galaxy." High Counselor Xyrix's face appeared on the screen, his crystalline features arranged in what humans had learned was pure shock. "Commander Patel, explain yourself immediately. These technologies are far beyond your approved development level." "That's correct, Counselor," Kira replied calmly. "They're beyond what you approved. But approval stopped being relevant the day you decided to treat us like children instead of equals." She gestured to the tactical display, where the pirate fleet hung helpless in their quantum containment fields. "Consider this humanity's graduation ceremony. We've learned every lesson you tried to teach us, including the ones you didn't intend. This is a violation of countless regulations." Xyrix sputtered. "The Council will." "The Council will do nothing," Kira interrupted, "because in about 10 minutes, similar scenes will be playing out across human space. Every primitive patrol ship, every basic defense platform, they're all about to show their true capabilities." She leaned forward in her chair, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's collective frustration and determination. "The galaxy thought they were protecting us. Instead, they gave us time to prepare, to innovate, and to surpass every limitation they tried to place on us." As if to emphasize her point, the tactical display lit up with new signatures, hundreds of human ships dropping their camouflage across multiple sectors. The message was clear. Humanity had never been defenseless. They had simply been patient. The time for patience was over. The emergency session of the Galactic Council looked more like a circus than a dignified assembly. Representatives from 37 spacefaring civilizations argued in a cacophony of translated voices, their accusations and demands filling the massive chamber. At the center of the storm stood Admiral Marcus Hassan, Earth's newly appointed representative, his dark uniform a stark contrast to the ornate robes of the council members. "Order. We will have order." High Counselor Xyrix's crystalline form pulsed with agitated light. The chamber gradually fell silent, though the tension remained palpable. "Admiral Hassan, you will explain how humanity has violated nearly every technology restriction placed upon your species for your own protection." Hassan's laugh echoed through the chamber. "Protection? Is that what you call it when you deliberately stifle a species' growth? When you treat their achievements like a child's crayon drawings?" He activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. It showed the pirate fleet, still contained within the Horizon's quantum fields. "You want explanations. Let's start with how your protection allowed pirates to prey on our colonies while your response fleets took their time arriving." "That is a gross oversimplification," the Mariox representative, a being of pure energy contained within an environmental suit, interjected. "The response protocols are carefully calibrated to keep us dependent," Hassan cut in. "To ensure we never developed our own effective defenses. Except we did, didn't we?" Right under your patronizing gazes, the hologram shifted, showing images that made several council members recoil. Hidden shipyards in asteroid belts, producing vessels far more advanced than humanity was supposed to possess. Underground research facilities where quantum physics had been pushed beyond what the Council thought possible. Training academies where human soldiers practiced with technology that, officially, they shouldn't even understand. "Impossible," the Vreen delegation whispered, their insectoid mandibles clicking in agitation. "Your species cannot have advanced this far without detection." "Can't we?" Hassan's smile was razor-sharp. You were so convinced of our primitive nature that you never looked past the surface. Every time you visited Earth, we showed you exactly what you expected to see. A young species stumbling toward the stars. Back on the horizon, Commander Patel watched the council session through a quantum-encrypted feed. Her ship, along with hundreds of others, had taken up defensive positions around key human installations. The message was clear. Humanity would no longer accept the Council's protection. Commander, Lieutenant Park reported, we're detecting multiple Council warships entering human space. They're trying to be subtle about it. Let them come, Kira replied calmly. Activate the Prometheus grid. Across human space, hidden satellites and defense platforms awakened. Technology that the Council had dismissed as primitive communication relays revealed their true nature. A web of quantum-entangled defenses capable of restricting FTL travel and nullifying advanced weapons spread across human territory. In the Council chamber, alarms began blaring. Hassan's smile never wavered as he watched the Council members receive urgent reports from their fleet commanders. Having trouble with your ships? He asked innocently. It seems they've run into some technical difficulties in human space. This is an act of war. The Trilaxian representative slammed a metallic fist on their podium. You dare to interfere with Council vessels? No, Hassan's voice turned hard. We dare to defend our sovereign territory, something you should have allowed us to do from the beginning. He gestured, and the hologram changed again, showing the full extent of human military capability. Ships that could match or exceed Council designs. Weapons that used principles the Council had never considered. Defenses that turned their own technology against them. Humanity never needed your protection, Hassan declared. What we needed was respect. Equality. The right to determine our own path among the stars. And if we refuse? High Counselor Xerix asked, his crystalline form dimming with concern. Then you'll learn why your own xenobiologists classified Earth as a death world. Hassan replied. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. We survived ice ages, plagues, and our own destructive nature. We didn't just survive. We thrived. The chamber erupted again, but this time with a different tone. Several of the younger species representatives were watching the humans with something approaching admiration. Others were hurriedly conferring with their governments, recognizing that the balance of power had shifted. We don't want war, Hassan continued, his voice carrying over the chaos. What we want is simple: full recognition of human sovereignty, unrestricted access to galactic trade routes, and an end to all protective oversight of human technological development. And if we refuse these demands? The Marioch's representative asked. Hassan's response was cut off by new alarms. On screens throughout the chamber, Council members watched in shock as their military vessels found themselves unable to move, caught in quantum fields similar to those holding the pirates. That, Hassan said quietly, wasn't a demand. It was a courtesy notification. Humanity has already taken these rights. We're simply giving you the opportunity to acknowledge them gracefully. In human space, Commander Patel watched as Council ships hung powerless in space, their mighty weapons rendered useless by technology they had never thought to guard against. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had forced the change. Status report. She called to her bridge crew. All Council vessels contained, Rodriguez reported. No casualties. Their weapons are offline, and their quantum communications are restricted to basic channels. Kira nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. Send word to all human ships. Hold positions but do not engage unless fired upon. We're not conquerors, we're just refusing to be conquered. The message was clear. Humanity had hidden in plain sight, building their strength while playing the role of the grateful primitive species. Now the mask was off, and the galaxy would never be the same. The following week became known in galactic history as the Great Revelation. Across human space, the facade of primitive technology fell away, revealing the true extent of human advancement. But it wasn't just military might that shocked the Council. It was the sheer creativity of human innovation. In orbit around Mars, the massive atmospheric processors revealed themselves as quantum computing centers that rivaled anything in Council space. The basic terraforming equipment on Venus turned out to be testing grounds for environmental manipulation technology that made traditional terraforming look primitive. Commander Patel stood in the newly revealed command center beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, watching as diplomatic vessels from various Council species arrived. Not as overseers this time, but as supplicants seeking dialogue. Another request for technological exchange. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, now serving as Earth's diplomatic communications officer. The Mariocs are particularly interested in our quantum field manipulations. Tell them the same thing we've told the others. Kira replied, reviewing reports on her quantum-linked display. We'll consider exchanges once new diplomatic protocols are established. Equal protocols. The doors slid open, admitting Admiral Hassan. He looked tired but satisfied. The Council's hardliners are finally backing down. Seems the loss of their entire prediction model for human development has thrown them into quite the philosophical crisis. How many species have broken ranks? Kira asked, though she already knew the answer. 17 so far. Hassan smiled. Mostly the younger races who remembered what it was like to be under the Council's protection. They're calling for complete reform of how the Council handles emerging civilizations. On the main display, they watched as another Council vessel arrived through the quantum aperture gates, technology that humanity had developed by thinking beyond traditional FTL concepts. The ship belonged to the Vreen, once among the most dismissive of human potential. They're requesting permission to establish an embassy, Rodriguez reported. Their message includes what appears to be an apology. Now that's something I never thought I'd see, Hassan mused. The Vreen apologizing to anyone, let alone their primitive humans. The real shock for the Council hadn't just been humanity's military capability. It was the realization that humans had developed entirely new branches of science. While the Council had been perfecting existing technologies, humanity had been asking questions no one else thought to ask. Commander, Park's voice came through the quantum link. The Prometheus grid just detected something interesting. Several non-Council species are approaching human space. They're broadcasting on frequencies we've never seen before. Kira shared a look with Hassan. They had expected this. Other species who had been watching from beyond Council space, waiting to see if someone would finally challenge the established order. It seems the galaxy is about to become a much more interesting place, Hassan said, straightening his uniform. Shall we go greet our new neighbors? For the first time since the revelation began, Kira allowed herself a full smile. Send word to all human vessels. First contact protocols are now in effect. Let's show the galaxy how diplomatic relations should really work. The age of human submission was over. The age of true galactic cooperation was about to begin. 1 year after humanity's revelation, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. Gone were the hierarchical tiers that had once separated elder and younger species. In their place was a circular arrangement where all representatives sat as equals. Commander Patel, now Admiral Patel, took her seat at the newly formed Interstellar Cooperative's inaugural session. The name change had been symbolic but important. No longer a council dictating terms, but a cooperative of species working together. The floor recognizes Representative Hassan of Earth, announced the session moderator, a position that rotated among all member species. Hassan stood, his presence commanding respect rather than the condescension of old. Fellow representatives, I present for your consideration the Equal Development Accord. Its core principle is simple. No species has the right to artificially restrict another's growth. The chamber, once filled with dismissive whispers whenever humans spoke, now listened intently. The past year had proven that humanity's hidden advances were just the beginning. Their approach to science and development had sparked a renaissance across known space. Furthermore, Hassan continued, we propose the establishment of the Galactic Exchange Initiative. Any species may contribute their knowledge and receive knowledge in return. No more artificial tears, no more protected species status. The Vreems support this proposal, came the immediate response. The insectoid species had become one of humanity's strongest allies after discovering how human quantum mechanics solved problems they'd struggled with for centuries. One by one, species declared their support. Even the crystalline Xerix, no longer High Counselor, but still influential, added his voice to the chorus. In Earth orbit, the U.S. Horizon, now bearing the marks of its true capabilities, prepared for its first official mission as part of the Cooperative's Joint Exploration Fleet. Its crew included not just humans but representatives from a dozen species, all working together as equals. Setting course for the Outer Rim, Lieutenant Rodriguez announced. The unknown species who contacted us last month are eager to begin discussions. Admiral Patel nodded, watching as her crew, human and alien alike, worked in perfect synchronization. Take us out, Lieutenant. Let's show them what real cooperation looks like. The ship's quantum drives engage, creating a portal through space-time that made traditional FTL look primitive. As they accelerated toward their destination, Paddle reflected on how far they'd come. Humanity had hidden their strength not out of fear, but because they understood something fundamental. True power wasn't about domination, but about choosing the right moment to effect change. They had turned their perceived weakness into their greatest strength, and in doing so, transformed the galaxy. Message from Earth Command, Park reported. The first graduating class of the Interstellar Academy is ready. Students from 30 species, all training together. Patel smiled. This was what they had really been working toward, not just proving humanity's worth, but creating a galaxy where no species had to hide their potential, where innovation and cooperation replace stagnation and hierarchy. You know what really makes me proud? Hassan's voice came through the quantum link from the cooperative chamber. We didn't just break free of their restrictions, we showed them a better way. The horizon passed the outer markers of Earth's solar system, its quantum wake creating a pattern that scientists from a dozen worlds were still trying to understand. In its wake followed ships of various designs, each contributing their own unique approach to space travel. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Underestimating humans was more than just a mistake. It was a missed opportunity. The species that had evolved on a Deathworld hadn't just survived. They had turned their challenges into advantages and their restrictions into opportunities. As the ship prepared to make its first quantum jump, Admiral Patel sent one final message to Earth Command. The stars are no longer our destination. They're our starting point. Humanity is ready for whatever comes next. The future stretched out before them, full of possibilities that even humanity hadn't dreamed of yet. The age of restriction was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and somewhere in the vast expanse of space, other young species watched and learned. Never judge a civilization by what they show you. Judge them by what they choose to hide until the right moment. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what humanity had been working toward all along.